Hello everybody, welcome back to another modelled writing video. In today's video we're going to look at two task 1 questions. Task 1 is when you'll be presented with some data in the form of maybe a map or a bar chart or a pie chart. There's different types of data, and then it's your job to select and report the main features of that data and also make comparisons where they're relevant as well, so when they are particularly striking or important. Okay, so if that sounds like something that you're interested in, maybe you are doing some practice at home at the moment, maybe you're just not sure about task 1, well, you've come to the right place. As we go along today, I will be talking about any tips for task 1, how I would approach task 1, and then we'll do the write-up as if we were sitting the exam itself, so you can really see how I would approach all aspects of this. So I think this is really useful preparation for you, and you can follow along at home. Okay, well, let's get started then. And we're going to first look at a bar chart. Now, bar charts are, I would say, quite popular for task 1. They could be on their own, there could be multiple bar charts, there could be bar charts with other pieces of data as well. So definitely something to be comfortable with. The question. The chart shows the average number of hours each day that Chinese, American, Turkish, and Brazilian tourists spent, past tense, doing leisure activities while on holiday in Greece in August 2019. Summarize the information by selecting and reporting the main features and make comparisons where relevant. Okay, so that's our task. Right, so as we were just talking about, yes, we need to select the main features and also make comparisons where they are relevant here. Okay, so this is all about what leisure activities they did whilst on holiday. So let's have a look and we'll think a bit more about the data. Okay, here we go. Holiday leisure activities. And we've got Chinese tourists, American tourists, Turkish tourists, Brazilian tourists on the x-axis. Down here we've got the keys. So blue is at the beach, orange is reading books, grey is visiting places. Okay, and the number of hours on the y-axis. So right, 0 to 8 hours. Okay, so it's quite a straightforward we've got, yes, quite straightforward variable here. So first observations then. Wow, reading books for Chinese tourists and also American tourists seem to be the most popular activity. And then for Turkish and Brazilian tourists, at the beach seems to be. So I think I'll group these together. So we have reading books. Reading books. And then in brackets, Chinese and American. And we'll do our capitals. Doesn't matter too much for our notes, but just to we have to do it in the write-up anyway, so that's okay. Reading books, Chinese and American tourists. And let's do at the beach. That is going to be Turkish and, do the brackets correctly, Turkish and Brazilian. Okay, so, is that just one? Oh, there we go, Brazilian. Okay. So then we have our overview, which is our sweeping statement. We're not using any data yet. We're going to save that. We just want a broad, general statement. So the most popular activity was reading books, I would say. Or definitely for 2, and then the other 2, it's the second highest. I was reading books, particularly for Chinese tourists. Okay, so that is our sweeping statement, our observation there, before we get into the data part of the write-up. Okay, so we've got our 2 groups, and then we've got our big overview here. So I think we can put this all together in the write-up, and I'll show you how we can create our mini essay here. So we have our question, and we have really useful words. So we've got synonyms for words like decrease, stayed the same, increase. And when they are combined with adverbs, this makes for really nice sentences on describing trends. Okay, and then we've got holiday leisure activities. Of course, the data down here. So everything's there for us, and in the exam you'll have your notes right there as well to refer back to. Okay, so the first thing we need to do, really important in IELTS, is to paraphrase the statement here. And we do this in task 2 as well. So paraphrasing is very important. The chart shows the average number of hours each day that Chinese, American, Turkish, and Brazilian tourists spent doing leisure activities while on holiday in Greece in 2019. Oh, it's quite a long sentence, that one. So we can be more specific. The bar chart displays the medium total of hours, or maybe medium amount of hours daily that tourists. Now, if you're not sure how to paraphrase completely, we can just change the word format. So we could say tourists from China, America, Turkey, and Brazil dedicated to leisure activities. Enjoyable activities, hobbies, activities, maybe dedicated to, well, it's tricky to do this. So maybe we can change the word format. Let's have a think. Dedicated to different types of leisure. Let's break this up. Actually, I think this is a bit long. So we can dedicated to different types of the bar chart displays the median amount of hours daily that tourists from China, America, and Turkey dedicated to doing dedicated, or the amount of hours spent maybe doing various activities they enjoy. They enjoyed. This was while they holidayed in Greece in August 2019. Okay, let's read this back. It's a bit of a longer paraphrasing here, but that's okay. The bar chart displays the median amount of hours daily that tourists from China, America, Turkey, and Brazil did. Also, it's all past tense. Important point there, because it's in 2019. Did various activities they enjoyed. Let's read this back again. The bar chart displays the median amount of hours daily that tourists from China, America, Turkey, and Brazil did various activities they enjoyed. Okay, this was while they holidayed in Greece in August 2019. Maybe vacationed. Okay, I think that's good. We've got our opening paraphrasing paragraph there. So now let's go into our sweeping statement. And let's start it off with a nice phrase like generally reading books. Oh, and we're always checking spelling. That's me typing there. Reading books was the most popular way to maybe unwind, particularly for Chinese tourists. Oh, Chinese visitors. Okay, so our overview is quite to the point, fairly straightforward. Generally, reading books was the most popular way to unwind, particularly for Chinese visitors. There we go. Okay, so now we can go into our two groups, and we've got the reading books group, and then we'll follow it up with the at the beach group. So Chinese tourists and American tourists both enjoyed reading books, and they were both reading them for 5 hours or more, so we can group them together with that. Chinese and American holidayers, holiday makers, both partook or maybe we could say, oh, I'm not sure about partook, both maybe partook in reading books the most out of the three activities, spending 5 hours or more on this hobby. Okay, let's dive into some other details. So we are grouping them together, but we'll also talk about the other hobbies here. So okay, so then we can talk about China. Let's say Chinese or we could say notably guests from China enjoyed or dedicated. Let's do spent with dedicated 8 hours to this. on average. Okay, let's talk about the other activities for this group. At the beach was next. Going to the beach. Meanwhile, for these holidayers, came in second in terms of time. In particular, we've used in particular. Strikingly, for Americans, this was 1 hour less than reading. Okay, visiting places. So we're not choosing everything, we're just picking the most interesting parts. Visiting places, on the other hand, was consumed the least time. Chinese travellers did this on average for 1 hour, the lowest time for the entire study. So that's the lowest. For 1 hour, the lowest, maybe allotted time, the entire study. Okay, let's read this back and see how it's sounding. Chinese and American holidaymakers both partook in reading books the most out of the 3 activities, spending 5 hours or more on this hobby. Notably, guests from China dedicated 8 hours to this on average. Going to the beach, meanwhile, for these holidayers came in second in terms of time. Strikingly, for Americans, this was only 1 hour less than reading. Visiting places, on the other hand, consumed the least time. Chinese travellers did this on average for 1 hour, the lowest allotted time for the entire study. Okay, I think that's good. We've grouped them together for reading books. Now let's go to our second group, where at the beach was the most popular. So we can say, on the other hand, explorers from Turkey and Brazil valued being at the beach the most. Significantly, Brazilians Brazilians put aside 6 hours for this activity. Both countries, well, they both follow a similar sort of pattern, follow a similar trend with reading books coming in second. We could do a nice bracket. 4 hours for each nation. For each nation's citizens. Okay, and then we have visiting places. As with every visitor researched, visiting places consumed the least time, the least hours Brazil with 2 hours on the clock, and Turkey, Brazilians. We use Brazilians, yes. Tourists from Brazil with 2 hours on the clock, and Turkish Turkish we've used citizens and people from Turkey allowing 1 more hour than Brazil. We could say, and even though people from Turkey allowed 1 more hour than Brazil, this leisure scenario was still the least popular, for example. Okay, let's read this one back. On the other hand, explorers from Turkey and Brazil valued being at the beach the most. Significantly, Brazilians put aside 6 hours for this activity. Both countries follow a similar trend, with reading books coming in second, 4 hours for each nation's citizens. As with every visitor researched, maybe as with every group researched, visiting places consumed the least hours. Tourists from Brazil with 2 hours on the clock, and even though people from Turkey allowed 1 more hour than Brazil, this leisure scenario was still the least popular. Visiting places consumed the least hours. Let's do a nice full stop there. Tourists from Brazil with 2 hours on the clock, and it had 2 hours on the clock, and even though people from Turkey allowed 1 more hour than Brazil, this leisure scenario was still the least popular. Okay, I think that's good. We've just gone back, edited, checked spelling, checked grammar. Let's check the words. Okay, so this comes to a grand total of 218 words. So it is a little bit longer, but that's okay. There's no upper limit. So as long as you're reaching the 150 minimum, then you'll be absolutely fine. So you can, if you're a fast typer or writer, then that's okay. As long as everything's relevant and answering the question, and you're not reporting back on everything, you're just picking the main features, then that's what we're aiming for. Okay, so I hope that's been helpful. Bar charts, like I said, are quite a common type of chart to come up, so good to be confident with them. Okay, let's go to our next task, and this is going to look at pie charts. The pie charts below compare the proportion of energy capacity in gigawatts, GW, in 2015 with the predictions for 2040. Summarize the information by selecting and reporting the main features and make comparisons where relevant. Okay, wow, so things that jump out to me are the predictions for 2040, so we're going to use the future tense there, really important. We can use this GW for gigawatts. Okay, well, let's bring in the pie charts and see what we're dealing with. Here we go. So energy capacity. Right, on the left we have 2015 past tense. And we've got the key down here. So the grey is fossil fuels. Then we have 20, the dark blue is other renewables, 23%. Green is solar, 2%. Nuclear, orange, 6%. And wind, 5% in this light blue colour. Okay, so 2040, yes, we've got solar is on the, well, fossil fuels will decrease. Solar will rise. Other renewables will slightly drop. Nuclear will slightly drop. And wind will more than double. Right, okay, so, and then actually, also we've got the total energy capacity here. Okay. So I think for this one, I'm just going to keep it quite straightforward and do the 215 stats and compare it to the 2040. 2040, okay. And then, of course, we'll compare and contrast between. So, the overview then, our sweeping statement, something along the lines of fossil fuels will be the most utilized energy source, although it will drop in the future, or its use will drop in the future. Its use will fall in the future, something along those lines. Okay, I think that's good. So we've got our two groups. We're keeping it simple here. I always suggest to do that rather than overcomplicate things for yourself. So you can, yes, have your two pie charts, and of course we'll compare between them and as we go along. Okay. Let's go to the write-up, and we have our question. We've also got our useful words, which can help us with this. And of course, we've got our data here. So we need to start how we always begin, task 1, by paraphrasing this sentence here. The pie charts below compare the proportion of energy capacity in gigawatts in 2015 with the predictions for 2040. Okay. So the pie charts provide information about the distribution, or we're checking our spelling as we're going along, about the distribution of maybe energy production. Measured in gigawatts, and we can put our GW. Measured in gigawatts in the year 2015, and future predictions, maybe, and future guesses for 2040. Okay, let's read this back. The pie charts provide information about the distribution of energy production measured in gigawatts in the year 2015 and future guesses for 2040. Okay, I think that's good. Let's now do our overview. So, on the whole, while both timestamps have, maybe we could say, while fossil fuels were and will be the largest share for both timestamps. They are looking to drop in usage in 2040. Okay, on the whole, while fossil fuels were and will be the largest share for both timestamps, they are looking to drop in usage in 2040. Okay, I think that's good. Now we can go into our groups. So let's start with 2015 and just lay out what we can see here. So in 2015, let's start with the overall energy capacity. Maybe the year of 2015 saw 6.688 in total production in energy. Energy. There we go. I think we can leave that as a nice sentence there. Oh, and let's put gigawatts. Okay, now let's dive into the details and we'll talk about the data. And we're using past tense. Fossil fuels consumed a strikingly large amount of produced, put out a strikingly high amount of output, puts out output, exhibited strikingly high amount of output at 64%. And this is the largest figure out of any for the entire study. So the largest figure for the entire study. Okay, so then the next highest is other renewables. Now that's a big drop. The next highest portion belonged to other renewables, just under a quarter at 23%. So that's quite a nice way you can talk about things in quarters, halves, tenths even. Okay, brilliant. So the other three producers of energy we have wind, nuclear and solar. They make a total of, we can tie them up together as 13%. So the next three energy providers, it sounds like a company, but I think it works here, total to contribute 13% of the total for this year. Maybe we could talk about solar being particularly small, or maybe nuclear. Solar energy held the smallest percentage of the research at 2%. Okay, let's read this back and see how it's sounding. The year of 2015 saw 6.688 gigawatts in total production in energy. maybe of total production in energy. Or maybe saw a 6.668 gigawatt total production in energy. I think that's better. Fossil fuels exhibited a strikingly high amount of output at 64%, the largest figure for the entire study. The next highest portion belonged to other renewables, just under a quarter at 23%. The next three energy providers total to combine to contribute 13% of the total, maybe overall for this year. Solar energy held the smallest percentage of the research at 2%. We can add a line maybe and talk about wind. Why not? Whereas wind was 3% higher. Let's do a 5%. Okay, I think that's good. We've reported back on not quite everything. We found creative ways to talk about the data here, because it's quite boring if you just list all the percentages. So we want to put brackets in, talk about differences. I think that's quite nice. Okay, so let's now go to 2040, and we want to say that it's almost the double the total output capacity. So let's do a nice, in the year 2040, it is suggested, because it's future and we're guessing, it is suggested that the energy capacity will almost double that of how many years difference? That of 25 years prior. 11.678 gigawatts. Okay, so we're already comparing the two. However, the figures are less. We can say, however, the distribution is less extreme, as the figures are not too dissimilar. Okay, so we're going in with a nice grouping here, and we could even say are not too dissimilar, all under 50%. So there's not one that's higher than that. Okay, fossil fuels. Will be not too dissimilar. Fossil fuels will still take the biggest share, 44%, followed by other renewables. And other renewables will follow at 21%. Just the same trend as 2015. Okay, so we're just comparing here and there. However, then it gets the last three actually contribute more. So let's do a nice however. The other three categories have increase, or will increase their share. Dramatically solar, wow. So significantly solar energy will increase by 16% to reach 18%. So that is dramatic there. Okay. Let's do another one as well. So wind is another one that increases. Wind also will grow, rising from 5% to an estimated 12%. Okay, let's read this back. In the 2040, it is suggested that the energy capacity will be almost double that of 25 years prior, 11.678 gigawatts. However, the distribution is less extreme as the figures will not be too dissimilar. All under the distribution is less extreme. All figures will be under 50%. Fossil fuels will still take the biggest share, 44%, and other renewables will follow at 21%, the same trend as 2015. However, the other three categories will increase their share significantly. Solar energy will will rise. Maybe we could say a nice word, supposedly. Will supposedly rise by 16%, 18 to 18%. Wind will also grow, rising from 5% to an estimated 12%. Okay, that's nice. So you can see how we've used these words to estimate for the future. Estimated, supposedly, they're predicted. All of these words are great for this this future tense. Right, so we've just gone back, edited, made sure everything sounds okay. So now let's count the words and see how we're doing. Okay, so this reaches the total of 207 words. So I think a nice amount for task 1, just a bit over the 150 there, but still achievable. We've got our paraphrase start, then we've got our overview, and then we've got our 2 groups where we're pulling the data from, pulling various parts of the data from what we've been given here. Compared, contrasted. That's great. Okay, well, that brings us to the end of today's video, and thank you for coming along. Today we've had 2 different sets of data, which I think is really important for your practice, trying all the different things that could come up. So do let us know if you've got any questions or comments. We really love to hear from you, and we'll see you in the next video.